Okay, guys, I know that some of you have wanted to hear the end of Joshua's trail, but some of you haven't even started. So I'm going to go ahead and start from the beginning with Westward to Home, Joshua's Oregon Trail Diary. St. Joseph, Missouri, 1848. March 1st, 1848. Pa is singing softly tonight. Doesn't that mean we're going? I'm so excited I can't sleep. I lie in bed with my journal and pencil. A candle lights this page. The stars look in my window and wink at me. Do they know that I, Joshua Martin McCullough, may be sleeping under them? Do they know I might go to Oregon? Pa's been begging Ma. He talks about free land and opportunity. Ma squinches up her eyes at him, but has she finally said yes? And what about Grandpa? No, he won't go. That's why he gave me this journal. He wants me to write for him. It will be awful hard to leave my grandpa. My candles burn to a stub. I'll write more tomorrow. March 2nd. Pa still sings softly. Ma's still quiet, but Ma's always quiet. Yet something's different. This morning Ma was in the kitchen and Pa walked by her and patted her on her bottom. She whispered, "The children!" But she smiled. I haven't seen her smile in weeks. Still, they don't say, and I don't ask. I don't want Ma to frown again. Charlie Granger, my cousin, is good friend, wants to go, but his ma, Aunt Lizzie, is like Ma. Last week they were in our kitchen. Uncle Arthur was pestering Aunt Lizzie like a fly at a honey pot. She threw up her hands. She said, "Yes, if we all go together." Uncle Arthur looked at Pa. Pa nodded. They looked at Ma. Ma looked away. Pa said, "What's holding us back?" "I know what's holding us back." Ma. March 16th. Pa told me about President Polk. Our president says we should spread our country ocean to ocean. A newspaper man in New York, John O'Sullivan, wrote that it's our destiny. It's called manifest destiny. Now everybody says those words. Ma says people are like parrots, repeating words they don't even understand. March 19th. This morning Becky was coughing again. She coughed so hard her lips turned blue. Pa held her close. He spoke softly to Ma. I heard the words clean mountain air. Ma didn't tell him to hush. She just sighed and nodded. Is this why she's decided to go? If she's decided. March 20th. Today Grandpa came by on his horse, Daisy. Grandpa has just one arm. Even so, he rides better than anyone I know. He brought me a sack of marbles. Before I could thank him, he waved and raced out of the yard. Grandpa's my best friend. He knows my secrets. Like this once around in the pond on his farm. He pulled me out. He breathed me back to life. But only he and I know that. Only he knows that I'm still scared stiff of water. I'll miss him so bad. Later. Guess what? Charlie and Aunt Lizzie agreed to go, but she wants her feather bed, her bureau, and her rocking chair, and everything. Uncle Arthur said yes. Today he's off to buy the biggest wagon ever. And now Ma will say yes. She must. She couldn't bear to let her twin sister go on without her. March 22nd. Yes, this morning they told me we will go. But Ma was still quiet, so then I said, "Ma, how come?" Ma shrugged. She looked out the window. I looked where she looked. Oh, we don't talk about it, but all my little baby brothers and sisters die right after they get born. The last one lived just one night. I named him Ezra. He wrapped his tiny fingers round mine. There were 5 gravestones out back. All that lived are me and Becky. Maybe in Oregon, Ma said. I nodded. It's the most we've ever said about babies. Nighttime. I've taken Pa's map to my room. With my finger I follow the trail we'll take. Mr. Robert Stewart, an explorer, laid out every step of it. In all my 9 years I've never left St. Joseph, Missouri. I've never seen anything important. I've never done anything important. Maybe on the trail I'll be allowed to hunt. Grandpa had a hunting accident. That's how he lost his arm below his elbow. He was just 8 years old. That's why Ma won't let me hunt. It will be different on the trail, I hope. I can't wait. March 24th. Last night Pa gave Ma a canvas chair. He said, you won't squat on the ground. You will sit by the campfire like a queen. Ma laughed and shook her head. Pa laughed too. Such excitement, Mrs. McCullough, and we're just beginning. Ma said getting ready is excitement enough to last her a lifetime, but I think Ma's happy now. She smiled even as she shook her head at Pa. March 30th. My head is spinning. In less than 1 week, this has happened. We sold our house. We sold the chickens and the horses. We traded the mules for oxen to pull our wagon. We've only kept our milk cow, Lori. She'll come along. We now live in our wagon down by the Missouri River, just about a mile from our house. St. Joseph is the jumping off place for the wagon train. There are lots of other wagons waiting by the river. An entire wagon train will go to California and Oregon. Pa says we'll just love Oregon. We can claim a whole square mile for ourselves. March 31st. Here's what our wagon house looks like. There are hoops to hold a cover. Pa oiled the cover to make it waterproof. Inside are 2 chairs. There's a table and a rug. There's even a picture of Grandma on the table. It's like a tiny parlor. In the middle of it is Becky's washtub bed. Around it are crammed barrels of dried meat and flour and coffee. There's bedding to make pallets to sleep on and spare parts for the wagon. There are Pa's rifles and Ma's wedding trunk. There's a tent for us to sleep in. Pa's built a cupboard on the side of the wagon. It holds pots and plates and Ma's medicines. There's quinine, landium, and castor oil. There's also hartshorn for snake bites. Ma is scared silly of snakes. There's also a mirror on the side. Ma says she won't look in it until the trip is over. I look every day hoping that my freckles are fading. They aren't, and my hair seems to get more red each day. It's a crowded little house, but there is room for Buster, my little brown dog. I'd just die if I had to leave Buster. April 1st. Grandpa came by camp today to say goodbye. He gave me a box tied with string. Open it later, he said. He sounded angry, but I saw tears in his eyes. I was blinking hard myself. When he was gone, I opened it. It was his pocket watch. It has a broad, plain face and fat black numbers. Grandpa said that when I was a baby, the ticking made me fall asleep. I looked at it a long while before I put it in my trunk. I'm trying hard to be brave tonight. Later. We now have our own little neighborhood. In the next wagon are Aunt Lizzie, Uncle Arthur, Charlie, and little Rachel. Rachel is 4 and best friends to Becky. Next wagon are the Wests with their son Adam. Adam is quiet. I think he's afraid of his pa. Nobody likes Mr. West very much. He's a loudmouth. But we like Mrs. West. Then there are Mr. and Mrs. Gibbons from our church. They called their babies the January, February, and March babies. The oldest, January, is a boy. He's 2. February is a girl, and she's 1 year old. And March is so new she can't hold her head up yet. Everyone likes them. Aunt Lizzie says they act as if they were newlyweds, but Ma said, with 3 babies? Then there are Mr. and Mrs. Allison. They're fat and they laugh at everything. They have no children, just a dog. Its name is Adorable. Honest, I didn't even laugh when I heard it. Adorable wears a hair ribbon and sits in Mr. Allison's lap all day long. In another wagon are the Douglas sisters, Miss Emmeline and Miss Elizabeth. They're single ladies from Ohio. Everyone wonders why they're traveling alone. They're nice enough, but a bit standoffish. Then there are the Druckers. There are about 20 of them traveling together in three wagons. In one wagon, there's a ma, a pa, a little girl named Sarah, and a girl my age named Bobby. She's real lively. The Druckers come all the way from Kentucky. Lastly, there are Mr. and Mrs. Meany. I am not making that name. Mrs. Meany is as nasty as her name. I've known her for a week and I've yet to see her smile. And there's a lot of other wagons, maybe 100 altogether, strung out along the river. We're a mixed up group, but Pa says we will get along well. I'm not so sure about the Meanies. April 2nd. Today the men chose a guide for our train. His name is Cousin Daniel, but it's not but he's not cousin to anyone we know. Paul voted for him because he's led other wagon trains. Cousin Daniel warned us about Indian raids and snakes and hailstorms. He said this trail isn't for cowards. Then he took off his boots and showed us his feet. One foot has no toes at all. He said he wore his toes right off with walking all the way to Oregon. Charlie whispered to me, "It's true, you think?" "Nah," I said. Cousin Daniel heard and he grinned at me. "You're right, boy," he said. "I'll tell you the real truth. I was sleeping one night and a snake crawled up and bit them right off of me." Later, Pa said he really lost his toes to frostbite. Pa also said not to worry. Cousin Daniel is full of bluster, but he will be a good guide. April 3rd. We're waiting for the grass to green up. Cousin Daniel says that feed for our animals is hard to come by. On the trail, God gives us grass. He's right. We could never carry enough feed for the animals. Who would have thought that our whole trip must wait on grass? April 5th. Still waiting. Everyone's restless, even the animals. To pass the time, Pa did some sums in a book. He added up the cost of all the supplies and animals and wagons camped here. It came to $130,000. I've never even seen $3 at one time. I know Ma and Pa have $180 for our trip. April 6th. Pa's worried that we're waiting too long. If we delay, we won't make it to Oregon before winter. It's going to take us 6 whole months. People tell about one wagon train, the Donner train going to California. They got lost in the mountains and had to stop for winter. Some people froze to death, and some starved to death. To survive, they cooked and ate their dogs, and worse. Charlie grinned at Buster. He said, "I bet dogs tasted good." I held Buster close and said, "Don't listen, Buster. He's just trying to scare you."